This has been a developing story for about the last 6 years. You tell folks you can buy a house for $1, people show up to a Sunday class. I love it. I think it's a huge opportunity for folks to create ownership, a path, home ownership, property ownership, a true path to building generational wealth, could be transformational wealth building. So I'm going to start. The chat is open. So what I want you to do before I jump into this information is put your questions in the chat to me, and I'll do my best to answer your questions and lead you in the right direction. I want everybody to know quick background on myself. If this is your first time logging in on a Zoom, I appreciate the folks that have been sharing the Freedom and Wealth Seekers community. We got a couple of new subscribers to our community text, and I hadn't sent out any advertising, so that means you all are passing that information along. I greatly appreciate that. That's truly how we grow this community. So for the new folks that aren't necessarily familiar with me, I've been in real estate since 2002, where I started educating myself, and 2005 is when I started actively investing. I started actively investing 2005. When I say actively, meaning buying a property to rehabilitate that property. Okay. 2002, I started educating myself on local government foreclosures. Those are tax deeds and tax sale certificates. I was able to purchase my first house for $850 and I think 25 cents or 75 cents. And I sold that property. Did not know anything about creating generational wealth at that time. If I did, I would have held on to that property almost 22 years ago. So to this evening, we're going to talk about how you all can participate in what I believe is one of the most important times in U.S. history, where we're going to see people over the next 5 to 15 years across the country, people lose wealth and people gain wealth. Okay. And wealth is through asset allocation, acquiring assets. Let that be stocks, ETFs, cryptocurrency now, real estate. Well, tonight we're going to talk a lot about real estate. And I want you to understand I'm not a politician. I'm not a real estate agent, not a realtor. I'm not a broker. The information you're going to hear from me is my opinion, from my experience, through my lens. And specifically, we're talking tonight about Baltimore City. Okay, happens to be the city I grew up in. So I'm here, 42 years of age. I've seen a lot in my years growing up here, but as far as the real estate landscape, I've seen a lot over the last 20 plus years being involved in real estate, invested in these communities, seeing the different uh, politicians come and go with their initiatives, sitting in on planning meetings with the city of Baltimore, talking to developers. I will say, from a real estate perspective, the city is moving in the right direction. It's moving in the the right direction because I see the local government pushing a narrative that is welcoming people to the city, and they're doing it in various ways. And they're incorporating the relationships that they have with local small business owners, entrepreneurs. So it's a collective movement that has been taking place since since I've been in college. So it's not just I gotta say not just the entrepreneurs or small business owners, but also local media from radio to local television, and they have created this what I've seen over the last 20 some years of being in real estate, a snowball effect. Really an avalanche. Like as a kid, I used to watch these cartoons and the avalanche was starting, a ball would roll down the mountain and it would just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, that's what's happening. Okay. And I'm going to share my screen throughout this conversation. I love the questions. For the folks that are logging on, please submit your questions about Baltimore's $1 housing program. Okay, and this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of what I believe is going to be huge for the city of Baltimore. And I'll go over my reasoning for that. But this snowball effect is taking place, and I want all of you to become knowledgeable of it, number one, and then learn how to participate. Okay. So I gave you my history as far as when I started in real estate, what I've been able to do since. I've been involved in hundreds of transactions myself and the folks that I mentor since 2007. That's when I started teaching people how to invest in real estate. And I cover the niche strategies of local government foreclosure, investing, wholesaling houses, that's buying property without using or very little money down, no credit. Also, landlord investing. I've been a landlord today, and also buy, fix, and flip. All right. Commercial property, not that well versed. I've sold commercial property in the past, but I've never owned any commercial property. I've actually failed at new development. I've failed at new development. I'm not saying I won't go back into it, but I tried to build out a old factory in York, Pennsylvania. Ended up losing money right before 2008 happened. I planned on building 7 townhomes and next door to Pimlico Racetrack on a street called Ethelbert Avenue in 2007. Around the same time, was in the process of purchasing a warehouse in York, Pennsylvania, and the market collapsed. And it ended up selling these 7 lots that were zoned residential to a church. And a church was built next to Pimlico. Well, I would say a place of worship was was developed next to Pimlico Racetrack. That was in my early 20s. Okay. Since then, I really just focused on residential redevelopment and education, teaching people like you. So I do have some resources I'll share early on before we jump into this $1 house program news. If you're interested in some type of guidance as far as real estate, and believe me, you're going to need it if you're going to be purchasing these houses for $1. I'll share my thoughts as we continue this conversation, but you're going to need some type of consulting or guidance. I don't know if that's going to be in place. It's not listed on any government websites that I've come across in regards to the $1 house program. And as we get deeper into this conversation this evening, you'll see why. So if you're seeking some type of guidance or consulting, you can visit my site. I'll put it in the chat. You can copy and paste it. It's www.marcelhumphrey.com. And this is a free site. You can log on to this site. There are over 100 articles, hundreds of videos, different case studies that you can watch on this site. So I want to start off with a news story that was published 6 years ago. And then I'm going to touch on this story and we can have a conversation. Some of you can put your thoughts in the chat. But I'm going to share my screen. I want you all to watch and listen to this news story that was published 6 years ago. And welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Freedom and Wealth Seekers community. Pulling up Google Chrome. Hopefully it cooperates tonight with Zoom. Okay, it should work. So let's see what happens. This video was only 2 minutes, 2 minutes long. Okay. So Zoom has a new layout. All right, perfect. Share sound. So we should be in business. Okay. In the chat, let me know if you can hear this.
It is a bid to remove blight in Baltimore, one buck at a time.
We're bringing it back. The dollar house concept, made popular under then Mayor William Donald Schaefer 40 years ago, may soon revitalize dilapidated neighborhoods. ABC 2 News' Jeff Hager has a buck in his pocket, and he's more now on the proposed program. Jeff?
Well, Jamie, there's a public hearing getting underway as we speak at City Hall on this push to let people renovate vacant homes, which they would then be able to purchase for $1 upon completion. This street sign denoting Homesteader Alley, tucked away in the exclusive Otterbein neighborhood near the Inner Harbor, is one of the only signs of a Baltimore success story decades ago when the city allowed people to buy deteriorated row houses for $1 if only they would agree to fix them up.
We have friends who live in dollar houses today in Otterbein, and it's a wonderful idea. Sterling Street, Barry Circle, Otterbein are great neighborhoods, and the dollar houses is what started them off.
Now City Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark says she's overwhelmed by the public's reaction to kicking off a similar program.
What worries me is that people are calling they want their house, and we're not that far along.
Clark says the dollar homes for the 21st century would target a yet-to-be-determined cluster of homes and would create new jobs and opportunities for minority-owned businesses by relying upon licensed professional contractors.
To oversee smaller local construction groups from the hood that will train young people as apprentices and returning people to the neighborhood as apprentices in the trade.
Finding the money to provide low-interest loans to buyers could be the next challenge.
During Mary Pat Clark's time and during William Donald Schaefer's time, we had Urban Development Action Grant federal dollars. Everybody knows that federal grants have been cut.
But Clark says the city could seek bonds during next year's general election to back 1% loans if it wants to provide a better future for neighborhoods which have long since been written off.
It's us doing for us. And that's what it's all about in Baltimore.
Now, the idea for the program came from tradesmen who balked at the city's plans to spend $94 million to demolish 4,000 vacant houses. Now, that's over $23,000 per house, which they feel would be better spent fixing them up rather than tearing them down.
All right. Let's see the messages so far. Were you able to hear that? Yes, good. Okay, what's the catch? I've been getting that a lot. I don't think it's a catch. Okay, and I'll dive a little deeper into that. Okay, these homes for $1, Marcel, are these? Hold on, I had to stop. YouTube is like on autoplay. Let me go back here. Are these homes just bare bones structure only, but needs hundreds of thousands of dollars? Possibly. I won't be able to say on a call the whole time. Just want to let you know. So I'm not rude if I sign off. Okay, thank you. Let me know that. Do you know if they have made provisions to ensure people who aren't investors will be able to buy properties? Yes. What are the requirements to qualify? We're gonna go over that. What's the catch? Why won't they demolish the lots first and sell the lot? Is it more cost effective? For an investor, what are the tax implications? And the requirements from the city. What are the benefits from the city? These are questions for the $1 houses, right? How would I get funding to rehab a property if I don't have good credit? And how would I even get approved for the $1 house with no great credit? That is a great question. And I hope that the city sees this class tonight, because these are questions that really need to be answered. What are the requirements for bank balances to qualify for the $1 houses? Good evening. All right. So if individuals or investors are renovating homes and buying them for $1 would be a non-factor, especially if the buyer is assuming costs of rehabilitation of home. So what is the real incentive other than the government to save money? Okay. Everybody has a right to an opinion, folks. Is the buyer required to live in a property? Does investor have to live in the dollar homes? All right. So after watching that uh that segment from 6 years ago, out of all the other segments that you're watching, that you're hearing about, I Mary Pat Clark, the city councilwoman, she had the most experience and the most substance out of everybody else I've heard talk about the dollar program. And you want to know why? It's because she's done it before. And I don't know if I think she's still in office, but I don't know how involved she is. Uh, I remember seeing her on the news all the time as a kid. So I know her spirit and her passion is really with the city of Baltimore. And from a real estate perspective, from a real estate lens, watching that interview, she showed a neighborhood that is a waterfront community. For the folks that aren't familiar with Otterbein, this is right off of Light Street in downtown Baltimore in the harbor. It is right next door to Federal Hill. So 40 plus years ago, before I was born, or right around the time I was born, they uh they sold properties not just in Federal Hill, not just in Otterbein, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. There were different neighborhoods around the city. Now this is where, this is one of my wealth principles is to follow what the successful has done in the past. Like, don't try to recreate the wheel. And if you look at that interview, the interview was only 2 minutes and it gave us a blueprint. It looked like they chose specific blocks Because if you ride through those neighborhoods, I know Baltimore like the back of my hand. If you ride through those neighborhoods, a lot of those houses look the same from the exterior. A lot of their floor plans are the same. Okay. A lot of those floor plans are the same. So it looks like back in the 80s, in the late 70s, they went block for block. All right. They chose specific neighborhoods and they chose specific blocks to get the investments needed to rehabilitate those properties and to put homeowners in those properties. Now, 40 plus years ago, they also worked with investors. How do I know this? Well, if you were on my IG Live last week when the news first dropped, my first wholesale deal was on a street on two streets called Mount Street and Lemon Street in Southwest Baltimore. Okay, 12 properties. These properties were owned by an 86-year-old landlord back in 2004. Okay, I'm talking 2004. Okay, it's my first wholesale deal. This gentleman purchased those properties for $1 in the 80s. And through grants and special loans that they had set up that former Mayor Pugh mentioned in that interview, he was able to rehabilitate these properties and rent them. And rent back in the 80s was a few $100. Back in '04, if I recall, the rent rolls were between $800 and $1,100 on Mount and Lemon Street. All right. If you all follow me on Instagram, there's actually a picture I posted, a throwback Thursday of my first wholesale deal at the corner of Mount and Lemon Street. It was a 3-unit townhome, 3-story, 3-unit townhome. There's a whole story for that. Maybe I'll share that on another conversation. So I want to go to the next piece I'd like to share with everybody. This is from USA Today. I'm going to share my views on this. And what I'll do is I'll share all the links with you all that I'm pulling up in the chat so you can do your own due diligence and review what we're going over. So hopefully you're bookmarking the links that I'm sharing with you all. The only link I shared so far was marcelhumphrey.com, and I'll be sharing another link shortly. The second link here is USA. And this is as big as you get next to the Wall Street Journal. And I don't know if the Journal has published anything yet. But USA Today, does the program exclude larger developers wanting to purchase these homes? Does this program limit the number of properties an investor can purchase? We'll talk about that too. So this is an article from USA Today, right? This hit the press, was this a couple of days ago? Let's see here. On the 22nd, you could buy a house in Baltimore for $1 after plan okay to sell some of the city-owned properties. So this is what I do know. What I heard out of the mouth of a politician in one of the news interviews is that they have a little over 300 properties that they're targeting right now. Okay? That they're targeting right now. There is inventory that's owned by the city. This article is saying 900 of which is owned by the city. I think it's a lot more than 900. And that's just from my lens and my experience in coming across city-owned property. So in Baltimore, you have properties that are owned by the mayor and city council, and then you have properties that are owned by the housing authority. These are two different agencies within the city. So the exact number hasn't been specified yet. You may hear one number there, another number there. Like every 6 to 12 months, these numbers change. What is concrete is that what I can say is concrete is that there are tens of thousands of vacant houses in the city. So they're going to start, from what I'm hearing and what I'm reading and listening to, is they're going to start with a small group of properties. Small group doesn't mean like 10 to 20. They're talking around 300 are going to be available in this, I would say, first round. All right. Now, we'll talk a little in greater detail in a second, but I want y'all to take a look. I want y'all to read this article on USA Today, and I want you to understand that millions of people have come across this article. Okay. There are people on TikTok blogging about it. There are people on Instagram, on Facebook sharing it. It's all over the internet. There are people in other countries that are looking at this article. And now, what has this done? This is excellent, excellent PR for the city of Baltimore. Excellent PR. It has brought in more eyes to our city. Okay. Whenever I hear, being in real estate, whenever I hear something about a city in real estate, my eyes go to that city. First time I heard LeBron James was investing in Akron, Ohio, I said, woo, that's a billionaire. Let me take a look at the housing stock in Akron, Ohio. Okay. Back in 1996, I was a kid, but knowing real estate, when they brought the Olympics to Atlanta, guess what happened? They had to develop certain parts of that city. Guess what happened? People started buying property in Atlanta, Georgia. What else happened? There had been a migration of people moving to Atlanta. People migrated back to the South to create what's now a progressive city, Atlanta. Okay. So there's some more folks trying to trying to log on. So this I look at Baltimore like in the, I want to say like it's an emerging city. So this is a map of the city. Now when I started my real estate company back in 2005, one of the first stops I made was the planning department, and I would sit in on planning meetings to hear about what is going to take place throughout the city of Baltimore. So if any of you are thinking about investing in real estate, take notes tonight and really just follow my lead. And when I say lead, I'm leading by example. What I've done, what I'm doing, how I'm teaching. This is what I teach my students. Shout out to all of the Freedom and Wealth Seeker Academy members dialed in tonight, watching this, whether you're watching the recording or watching us live right now. Shout out to those folks. I've been teaching since 2007, and I always tell folks, wherever you're at in the country, find out where your planning department is. These are where the decisions are made. This is where the big money comes in, gives presentations on what they want to do in the city. So, and they used to be open to the public. They should still be. I don't know with COVID restrictions if that changed. Some cities around and counties around the country actually have a webcast that you can watch. They do have a schedule. The offices are open. If you can sit in on a planning meeting, please do. Uh, it's educational, to say the least. But in the planning department in my city, you can get a map. So early 2000s, it wasn't like this. Like I couldn't go on and print off a PDF. It would be a huge map that I actually would have to purchase it. I think I paid like $13 or $30 for this map, the same exact map. It was colored a little differently back in the early 2000s because the city's changed, but it shows you all the different neighborhoods. So when I planned out my attack and my team's attack on how we were going to start acquiring properties in Baltimore, we would look at the neighborhoods and we would map out, okay, this month we're going to go into Reservoir Hill. Next month we're going to go into Federal Hill. And I'm just giving examples. Okay, so it's a really good map and it's free. I'm going to put it's free now. You don't have to pay $30. I think the printed one you have to pay if you go down there. But you can download this file and go right to FedEx and get them to enlarge it however big you want it. Ours hangs up in the office. I don't know where you want to put it, in your office or your house, but I'm going to share this map in the chat as well. So this is a map. And at the bottom, this is called a topology map. At the bottom of this map, there is actually some stats. And shout out to I'm gonna say shout out to all the mayors that I had the opportunity to I guess pay property taxes to all these years, and just been under that leadership. Every last mayor in Baltimore has actually helped the city move forward. You got to remember, I've been investing for 20 plus years, and I've been here 42 years, so I've seen the work. Um, and I gotta say, every mayor, when I was born, it was William Donald Schaefer, and he was one of the main people to push the Inner Harbor redevelopment and also the First Dollar program. He got behind that. So this topology map, Sheila Dixon pushed stats. I think she was part of the team that's created City Stat, if I'm not mistaken. So everything is numbers. And real estate is all about the numbers. People lie, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. All right. So this topology map at the bottom, you have an A market. The A market, you have medium sales price. And this is what I liked about the topology map back in like 2006, 2007, is that you had the median home prices. They gave you, sales prices, right? So they're saying that in the A market, if you look, the bright yellow, the median sales price for a property there is 492,000. Okay. If you slide over, it says foreclosures as a percentage of sales, 0%. So that's a very affluent community, right? Then you have owner occupied, 69%, right? And then it says residential properties, 10,000 permit, $10,000 permits, 8%. Okay. So housing units per acre, 10, right? But then if you look in the middle, there's a status says percentage of land, either vacant building or vacant land. 0% in the A, but every other neighborhood has a percentage of vacant properties. And the purple, J, has the most, 35%, right? So look at the city. And this is so important. There's a huge population of vacant properties in purple on the west side of Baltimore. On the east side, there's a nice pocket, right, of vacancy. And I always noticed this. This is through my lens. I always believed, I'm from West Side, right, that the East Side had a better housing stock. This is before I even got into real estate. I was like, East Ball, I had family on the East Side. It's like East Baltimore is really nice. Okay. I didn't see as many vacant properties on the East Side as I did on the West Side, growing up on the West Side. And then when I got into real estate, I learned that East Baltimore had some of the biggest universities, Johns Hopkins, Loyola, um, Morgan State University, and it also had a huge anchor. So if you're taking notes, write down anchor, the word anchor, Johns Hopkins Hospital. So where that purple is, that's right where Johns Hopkins is located on the east side. And this latest topology map was published in 2023. Okay, in 2023, I can guarantee you by 2030 that percentage of purple, 35%, is going to shrink. Okay, specifically on that east side. Specifically on that east side, there has been a ton of development. And when I say a ton of development, talking about billions of dollars worth. There was a organization here, and I believe they're still here, called EBDI. Write that down. You want to do your research on that. East Baltimore Development Initiative. That took place. That took place That took place in 2000, around 2005, 2006. The planning for the East Baltimore Development Initiative. Hold on, folks, 1 second. So I believe I put the this link in the chat. Let's see here. So you can download this map. Gonna stop my share for a moment. Then I'm gonna get into how to buy these properties for $1. And one thing that I read is that they were saying that this isn't going to be then everybody's going to be on an even playing field. I like the fact they said this. Okay. And I believe it. I truly believe it. I don't believe that they launched the application. If they did, I cannot find it. Let's see. I've seen that article. Okay. Does the program exclude larger developers wanting to purchase these homes? Does the program limit the number of properties an investor can purchase? Okay. So we're about to go into the Buy Baltimore website. There's another website I want to share with you before we go into the Buy Baltimore, and I'm going to share it verbally as these links load. But livebaltimore.com, livebaltimore.com. They have been around since I've been in real estate. Their office headquarters is on Charles Street, and their initiative is to help Baltimore grow by creating home ownership and affordable housing. So I am going to share their link, and I want you to bookmark this link. livebaltimore.com. I just put that link in the chat. Now, on livebaltimore.com, I have not seen anything yet in reference to the $1 homes. I'll share my screen so you can see. So this is the Live Baltimore website. My perfect neighborhood is near the office. They have trolley tour, Live Baltimore, Q&A. They have case studies. This is a really good resource, but they're going to be a part of this $1 house program. Okay. What I recommend is that you all ask questions. The folks that are serious about buying a property for $1, specifically the folks that are looking to buy a property to live in as your primary residence. Okay. The program is stating you have to live in the property for 5 years. So as this conversation continues, we're going to go in a little more depth on what the rules and stipulations are. So click that contact link on the Live Baltimore website and start touching bases with the folks there, letting them know that you're interested in the $1 house program. The other site I want to share with you is actually the City of Baltimore website, which has everything spelled out. And I'm going to put that link in the chat as well. Waiting for it to load. Hold on, folks. I'm going to have to close some links. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you all again. And I'm going to share a link. People are still logging on with us tonight. Love it. All right. So here's the first link. And what's important here is that you read everything on these sites that I'm sharing. Okay, so in the chat, I'm sending you a link to the Baltimore Housing and Development homepage. Okay, so on the homepage, there are different programs through the city of Baltimore where you can purchase property. Okay, where you want to go, on this site I just sent you is fixed pricing program. I think that's the link where you want to go. There are different programs through the Department of Housing and Development, but I want you to go to the fixed pricing link. And that should take you to maybe it's slow because everybody's going to this link right now. We're going to see in a second. All right, so this once you click fixed pricing, this takes you to the $1 house portal, right? In Baltimore. So they're rolling this out in phases. So we're right now in phase 1, April 1st. If you followed my text, I said you'll be able to qualify to purchase a house for $1 on April the 1st. Okay. Now, is that when they're going to actually launch the application? Because I haven't been able to find the application yet, right? There's a link to the application, but for some reason, I can't find it. All right. But everything else, remember, they just voted on this last week. So they're putting out all the guidelines. I haven't seen a list of properties yet. Okay. So the inventory that they're going to put up for sale, I haven't seen yet. Right. How are applicants vetted? All that information is here. So somebody had a question about developers. For-profit developers, we're not going to be able to get a house for $1 unless we live in the house. So for-profit developers, it must be developed for residential or mixed use, includes residential with a use and occupancy permit obtained within 12 months from the date of settlement. Okay, that's what we're going to be acquiring the properties for. But and also 501c3 nonprofits with 51 employees or less, right? These are for structures. And someone had a question about, does it make more sense to buy a house that you have to renovate or buy vacant land? Okay. Now with vacant land, you have to have expertise on home building, or you have to have a contractor with an expertise in home building. Okay. The costs are going to be different, right? So a vacant lot for profit developers are $1,000, for a homeowner, $1 if you want a vacant lot. Okay. For a homeowner for a vacant building, $1. Okay. So what I recommend, this is only my recommendation. If you are one of the chosen folks that are gonna be able to purchase one of these vacant buildings or vacant lots, if you qualify, I would build mixed use, like commercial on the first floor, residential above, or I would go after a commercial storefront and residential vacant building. That's my personal preference, and what I would recommend to my any of my clients or members, academy members. So the the thing is, this is it. There is a $90,000 budget, available budget they want you all to have. Let's read this. All applicants must have an available budget, 90,000 for property rehabilitation. Prop, per property apply. You can apply, from reading that sentence, you can apply for multiple properties. That's what it sounds like. Most of the city's inventory will require significant rehabilitation to bring the property to code. Estimates range from $125 to $150 per square foot to complete a rehab, and as such, most rehabs may require more than 90,000. I'm telling you all right now that more than probably 95% of the properties that come through this program are going to need more than 90,000. And from my experience, you need anywhere from 120 to $150,000 to renovate a two-story, depending on the square footage. Depending on the square footage for a two-story row house in Baltimore City. Okay. So the 90, that's like bare minimum. And it depends who your contractors are. If you're using a general contractor, that number is out the door. Okay. If you're using a team of licensed contractors, maybe with the right experience, you can pull that off. Not saying that you can't. With a general contractor, you may have some uh, general contractors out there that could do it, but most will not be able to fully renovate. Like, these homes need full gut renovations. Okay, need full gut renovations. Some know, like Baltimore has a one house at a time program. Some of those houses have really good bones where you can go in and potentially do a cosmetic rehab and live in or rent out the property. So it's really it's going to be interesting to see how they roll these properties out. And I'm hoping they just really copy what they did back in the 80s. Pick a neighborhood, create a block, a community, okay? Because it's going to be hard to scatter. Okay, Beth, you buy a property here. Steve, you buy a property here. Susan, you buy a property here. Shamika, you buy a property here. It's going to be very hard. Like if you scatter them around the city, scatter these homeowners around the city, number one, I believe you're running into vacancy issues. Okay. What I mean by vacancy issues, there are other vacant properties in these neighborhoods all around the city. So nobody wants to, number one, invest in a neighborhood where there's nothing else going on. Number two, it's people are not people. Most people aren't going to buy. People that know anything about real estate aren't going to buy on a block that's 100% vacant or 80% vacant. And there needs to be some organized plan that and I believe they're going to do this. I truly believe they're going to roll out different neighborhoods and different blocks. So there may be 20 houses and this is just for instructional purposes, I don't know, in the 900 block of Drew Hill Avenue. 20 houses in the 900 block. There are only 45 properties or 50 properties in the 900 block. 20 of those houses are going to be up for sale for $1. When that happens, over the next 12 months, there'll be 20 new homeowners on that block. Immediately, the value of that block goes up. Okay. Tax revenue for the city, permit revenue for the city, employment revenue. Like that first interview we watched together, Mary Pat Clark laid it out. She said, we're going to employ people in the neighborhood. We're going to help people with employment that are re-entering from incarceration. Like whatever they did in the 80s, they really need to dust off those file cabinets, go get those policies and procedures they had in place when they rolled out the dollar program last time. Because it was a success. The only problem is in the 80s, and from what I've seen and the people that I've met that benefit from those policies and those programs weren't African American folks. And we live in a city that is predominantly African American. And that's just my lens. Not saying nobody of color benefited then, but from what I've seen with my two eyes and my two ears over my 20 plus years of experience, I haven't met anybody that truly benefited, okay, from those programs in the past. But now is the time. So we talk about financing from my lens. Now I'm speaking to the people that want to invest in these properties because they're going to be rolling out phase 2 July 1st. This includes future homeowners, community land trusts, nonprofits, and for-profit developers. So phase 1 is going to be successful. We're speaking that into existence. That's going to roll right into phase 2. And this is where my expertise comes into play. This is where folks that already own a home or don't have a desire to live in Baltimore but want to invest here, this is where you really have to know what you're doing, because they're only giving you 12 months to rehabilitate these properties. Now, I do know that in past programs, I've seen with my own eyes investors get in trouble who purchase properties pennies on the dollar from the city. They were given time to rehabilitate these properties. They weren't able to do it. They weren't able to get the financing or the contractors, and the city took the properties back and then sold them to another developer. So that investor lost their money, okay, and it was still thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, and they got the property at a discount maybe 3-4 years ago, but they did not perform. And there's a vetting process. I don't know what the vetting process here is with this program, but there's going to be a vetting process. So two of the biggest hurdles that hold people back from achieving their results and achieving success in real estate development is contractors and budgets. All right. So what I recommend is that you have credit lines available to you. Okay. You have credit lines available to you. I also recommend that you have private money or hard money loans available to you before you actually apply. Okay. If you have 90 plus $1,000 sitting in the bank, great. Okay. That's going to get you in the door. All right. But it's going to take more than $90,000 to renovate these properties. And you'll see why in a moment. Okay. So it's really all spelled out. I know for a fact there are going to be more updates to the site. Um, for instructional purposes, I'm going to go ahead and click apply now. Now you would think this takes you to an application. Last time I clicked it, it did not take me to an application. Okay. It took me to the Buy into Baltimore interactive map. So that tells you they haven't really rolled out this program as of yet. I'm going to go ahead and click the browse properties. And I am going to zoom in. So if you see green, that means that's a vacant lot. If you see yellow, that means it's a structure. So I'm going to click on, and folks, you're going to have to bear with this site. It will have you all over the place really quickly. So I'm going to click on this property here. Yellow, no, I'm sorry, yellow is vacant lot. Green is a structure. My mistake. Yellow is a vacant lot. Green is a structure. And that property did not have an address for some reason. So this property here, 712 North Bradford. There's in 704 North Bradford. So I'm going to click. You have to click the address. Once you click the address, people are still trying to log in. That means people are sharing. And folks, I've been visiting this website for the last 3 years now. They've been updating it. It's been a little, every time I visit this site, it's a little more easier to use. So they give you a description, this Milton Montfort lot. Oh, look at this. So at first, there was a building there. Now it's not. So it's a vacant lot. So it's a vacant lot. So you have to build a house. That's actually 2 lots right there. So it's 702 and 704. If you know what you're doing, it's an attractive lot, attractive 2 lots. But there's no house. And when you first click the map, it shows you a house. Remember? Look at that. 704. Oh, and 712. So it's not 702 and 704. So there's some other vacant lots next to the 712. Okay. So they have to update this. Okay, so green is a lot. So they're showing green and yellow is a lot. Okay, so here's another one. 2500 East Oliver. Let's take a look at this one. So 2500 East Oliver.
Computer has frozen. My computer has frozen. I don't know what's going on. Testing, testing. Let's see what's going on here. Something's going on with Zoom. Hold tight 1 second. Okay, testing, testing. Open. Testing, testing. Whoa. Unable to access microphone, click continue to enter system. Your default change built in. Microphone just shut off. Everything. Okay, 1 second. One, two, testing. Look. Testing 1, 2. Okay, I don't know what happened. It was like everything shut down. But folks, let me look at these this chat. Yeah, Valium, I can't hear you. So PM loans, you have to also qualify. Most PM loans don't like to take a second on the loan. Yeah, so that's what for investors. For the folks that are wondering what private money is, that's someone that will loan you money at a higher interest rate than your traditional banks. Benefit the community with the programs like Habitat for Humanity. I'm pretty sure they're not going to be involved. I'm pretty sure they already get inventory from the city some way. I believe that's a nonprofit. Just to confirm, did you say that we have to live in a $1 houses? Yes, if you're a homeowner, you are supposed to live in that house for 5 years. Okay. Before you sell it or rent it out. If you're not going to do that, they're going to cost $3,000. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. We talk about this every single week in my Freedom and Wealth Seekers Academy. I'm going to put a link in the chat to the academy. This is a monthly. People are talking about this Zoom. I love it. If you like the information today shared on the Zoom, let me know. This is not going to be my last Zoom class about the $1 houses. We're going to hold several because they're going to be updating. I'm just sharing the information. Okay, I'm just sharing the information. So I just put a link in the chat to the Freedom and Wealth Seekers Academy website. I'm also going to text out a replay of this call. Yvette said, awesome Zoom. Thank you, Yvette. freedomandwealthseekers.com. So that site is loading. Yeah, I lost all connection. I lost all connection. At the end of the Zoom. But we covered a lot. We covered a lot of different sites. I recommend that you review. So the academy classes are once a week, and my academy members have access to me throughout the week. Shout out to Tiffany Parker, was actually working on 5 properties in Houston, Texas. Tiffany is from Houston, Texas. Our academy members are all over the country. So to answer your question, yes. All right, so folks, I'm gonna log out. You got a lot of homework. Go through those sites, read those articles, continue to educate yourself. Don't let this be the last place you stop for information in regards to the $1 houses. I believe in the program. I think it's going to do tremendous for the city of Baltimore. It's going to be a tremendous value add for the city of Baltimore, people that already own property here, people that want to invest here, and more importantly, people that want to live here. So folks, take care, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you soon. God bless. Peace.